Hello everyone and welcome back to NeoBurgh. Last time we set up our train lines to allow us to create our brand new public transport line between Ilkley and Swindon, Littlehampton, Shildon and Tring. So this time what we need to do is set up the supporting lines. Those would be the lines which go round the cities themselves in order to actually connect into these connections. So without further ado, I'm going to crack on and start doing that. So first thing I'm going to do is build a connection here. So if we put in our steps here and possibly even a building, maybe, I don't know whether we'll be able to do a small one or a big one. That sucks, but it's fine. It should be fine just doing that, and that connects to the main station. What we need to do is, oh dear, I'm going to sneeze. Bless me, sorry about that. What we need to do is think about the lines that we're going to be putting in. Now with Tring, that's fairly easy. Excuse me. Basically, we will be going around the outsides, and these should more than cover the areas that need the connections. So hopefully that will go straight in towards the center. We can do one over here, one over here, one over here, and we're just going to do a circular line around the city. So that should have ample overlap around everything, and we've got the center of the city also covered. So now we just need to work out how we're going to connect these up. And I think we're going to use this road out, and then we're going to have a straight line out from this node. In fact, how are we going to connect in here? If we have a electronic tram line, we can go in at a curve like so. We can also upgrade these roads around the city. So hopefully this will provide us with a decent first line around the city. We might as well connect these up, so then there's a whole tram line circling the city if needed. We need this to be electric, and if we have an exit on this side, then we can connect in up here. So we take this out this way. We want this to come out relatively straight and then turn into here. Something like that. That should be quite good. So if we just start creating these lines, hopefully it should find its right way round. There we go. And these will be tram lines to reduce the emissions. So if we just upgrade that road, that makes that a really good connection through to the rest of Tring. In fact, we can upgrade these roads as well, and that should improve the connections there for Tring through to this motorway, so, or the highway, sorry, I should say. So this serves as our new connection round Tring. Let's just name these. So I am going to copy the naming. We have these ones, don't we? Do we do any circulars? We did circulars here. Okay. And those were just public transport, road, numbered, Coulsdon, left hemisphere? I don't know what constitutes left and right. That or that or that. I don't know. LH. RH. Well, anyway. So what we're probably going to be doing is calling this PT Road, because trams run on the road, and then that would be, remember something, Tring, and this one is going counterclockwise. In fact, let's call it Tring Circular. And then we'll do Tring Circular clockwise. So that goes around the city like so. So, with that in mind, we just need our tram depot. Where could we put this? Maybe over here on this corner would be kind of an okay position. Maybe over here. It's an interesting city because it's very square. I don't necessarily want to ruin that. We could also do a connection here, couldn't we? Something like that. So now we have a couple of lines for our Tring circular line. Let's just put in our connection for the train lines. So these would be going through the various cities and then back. Actually, I should probably put in the stops first. That way, it should put them on the correct direction. So if we put... Oh, that one's not connected. That was close. There we go. So that's connected now. Put this in. Might as well put a few stops along the way. Gonna keep them right-hand drive. So we'll do some coming down this way. I noticed this is actually going quite far into the ground here. And wonder whether maybe if we did it again and raised it up, that might be better. But we'll leave it as it is for now. I don't anticipate too many trains being on this line, but you never know. We might end up having quite a few. So keep the stops varied and spread out, and then hopefully we can do connections through. It's going to be a problem until it can work its way back, like now. There we go. In fact, this is on the wrong track. So number 1's fine for that one. Use number 2 also. Here you want to be on number 4. Here you want to be on number 3. Surprised it didn't do this automatically, but hey ho. Number 1 is fine, and you can also go to number 2 if you need to. You want to go to number 4 on the way back, and number 3 here. Don't know why it didn't do it automatically, quite frankly. Do we have somewhere where we're missing train track again? Here. What's happened here? It almost looks like we've merged it by accident. There we go. That line should now work. Good. Okay. This is public transport, rail. And this is the Riverside line. Number 1, maybe? So once we get everything else in, that should be golden. So we've done Tring now. We just need to put some trams on that line once it's ready. We need to do Shildon next. So down here, I think with Shildon, we'll probably have a road coming through here. And this will likely connect in. Why has it created this road away from this one? There we go. So we have a relatively square city with Shildon. Hopefully we should be able to put in some semi-decent connections here. I'm going to do a connection up to this one, but this one will not have the trams as the other ones do. So at this point we need to put in a tram connection. So I think we'll do just one of these connected into this. Push that up as far as we can. And then we should be able to do a connection here, he says. There we go. And then we should be able to put this back. Like so. Cool. So if I was a tram, where would I go? Probably on the road, right? Probably around this way and then back in there. That seems pretty decent of a line. Where should we put depot. Let's put it down here. Oh, I was hoping we could put it underneath the pillars there, but we can't quite. We're potentially going to have a rail line coming through here, so I don't necessarily want to take up too much space here. It might be best on this side. Something like that. So if we start putting some connections in, should try and place them relatively spread out. This one's probably going to be the busiest one because it's nearest the center of the city. I think that covers pretty much everything, but we can put more in as it expands. There we go. So similarly to Tring, we're going to call this one, I've lost Tring. Where's Tring's one? To be fair, all the other public transport lines have a 3-letter acronym, which made sense for the larger cities, and it didn't for Coulsdon. What were these other lines? Okay, we need to come back to those. So for Shildon, it would be public transport road. Number something. These are Coulsdon. No, these are Shildon. And this one in particular is clockwise. Which means that this one is counterclockwise. Cool. So that's 2 of the 5 cities sorted. Now for one of the difficult ones. So with Littlehampton, it's a fairly big size, and to be honest with you, the public transport connection here is pretty far out from most of the other things. We could probably continue this road up and link it into here. So that would be a connection here. It's most likely going to go back that way. But if I just pause it for a second, we can take out this current connection. And then work it back in afterwards. So something like this. So that's a high-speed connection down to here. And then we would want an electric tram connection into there. For some reason it's heightened. We don't want that. We want it to stay at ground level. And then I think it might be better if we feed that into here. Truth be told, it's very hickledy-pickledy here. So we've got a lot of very large roads, and I don't necessarily want to put trams on large roads. Unless I have to. I might have to at the bottom end. So if we had this line come down here, it might be easier if we just put in trams here and go down this way. Then we've got this road here, which comes to this point. What are we going to do here? Coming up at this point, it would probably be best to go straight over, connect up to, say, here. And then what? We've got a big hill here, so I don't necessarily want to go straight through it. But if we continue out this way, we could probably circle round into this road. Something like this. Too much slope. It's because this is going up, so if we take that out, we can then raise it so that it looks a bit more normal. Although this particular road is not playing ball. Okay. We could do this in sections. So if I did, didn't mean to click that. Straight road out here, but keep it relatively flat compared to what we've already got. And then that would allow us to do a connection down to here. We can do upgraded trams there, and then we've got a loop, which should work fairly well. Although, admittedly, I don't think we'll get some of the central buildings. So if we go along that route, there's not very good overlap for some of these central ones. Probably here's the best point for it. So I may have to have a couple of different lines for Littlehampton, just because it is so large. I don't know whether we would want to put any out here, and we can always add them in after the fact. So that's what we'll do there. I don't really want to put stops on this main road through, so I'll try and put as few as possible. Do a couple in strategic points to have a good amount of coverage there. And then we can put one on this road. Most probably get rid of these because they're not really being used that much. And now that there isn't a connection further up, this would have to come down this way anyway. It's the best route through. So if we do maybe one on either side here, that should hopefully cover this section of the city as best it can. But even then, these really don't cover this central position, which is a bit of a shame, but to be expected. We could probably do like an inner route round. We'll just have to work out how we're going to do that. So we've got the outer lines, so we might as well... Oh, hang on, we haven't actually built the connection out here. I wonder whether maybe we could work this into this central line. Maybe. So I have a road coming across to here that's separate to this particular route, but uses the same hub. So we would need two circular lines. We would most probably want it... Ooh. Along this road. This particular city is probably going to be quite busy and sought after. I think Littlehampton has quite a few people come to it, but I may be wrong. A lot of people want to go to Dover from Littlehampton, but hopefully once we get that second line in, it should really pick up and start to work really well. So for now, this is the connection that we have. However, going forward, it doesn't necessarily mean that we'll not change it up. I think I've already explained that we'll probably want to have other connections here. So if we do a connection here, that can then serve a couple of different purposes. So we can have a road line come down here. Trams for the central line, and then come back that way. Cool. Okay. So if we put in, can we just upgrade these lines that we're going to be using to the higher speed roads? Autosave will interrupt, as it always does. I don't know why these roads are so segmented. Like, there's so many different junctions here. It's kind of horrible, but it is what it is. So if we do the outer lines first, I didn't actually put anything on this line. So yeah, new line going around the outside of the city, just so that we don't confuse anything. And this would be pretty good for a marker out here, which may turn into a stop if the city actually grows out that far. So we've got Upper Littlehampton, which is connected to the train station, and then we've got our counterclockwise line. So if we just jump into here, try and find that naming convention. I can't find it there. Don't know why it's not showing up there. Maybe because it doesn't technically have any vehicles on it. So we'll name this Little Hampton. And this one is the counterclockwise line, which is good. And this is the outer rim. The outer connection. Oh, it didn't. There we go. And then we just need to do the same thing backwards. So through this way and up again. So that will be for that one. Down here, let's just, before I forget, put this connection back in. So that will probably help that line do what it needs to pretty well. The steel line just goes around that way. Although if we change it here, does it go? Yeah, goes through there, comes back, does a little turnaround. That's good. Whereas the logs and planks line, admittedly, kind of goes a little bit everywhere. Picks up planks there, that makes sense. How much is it actually? Oh wow. Yeah, that is producing quite a lot. It's only actually transporting about 80% with 17 vehicles, so if we put maybe like another one on there, that should raise it up to where it needs to be. Do we want to improve connections here so that it doesn't have to go through the tunnel? We could do a road here that connects the two, but I don't particularly want to, just because it's a massive shortcut, but it might help. But I think we'll leave it as is. That should be fine. So if we're going to do the central connections, I think we would want a stop somewhere around here, and then that should cover a decent amount of the central connections. A stop down here. Maybe a stop over here as well. And a stop over here. and then just a stop further along from this, so it may serve as a little bit of a shortcut for anyone who needs to travel through that area. And then we'll keep an eye on that going forward. So if we were to do through this way, and then back, like so, we would just need to, I didn't actually name the other one. Which one was it? This one. So this is the clockwise line, and that's the outer one. This, I can't really make this out, so I'm going to make it like red so we can easily see it. This is counterclockwise, and it's the inner line for Littlehampton, and that makes this the inner clockwise line. Yeah, which, to be fair, pretty much covers everywhere. So the inner line may become way more popular than the outer line, so we should take that into account when we're putting trams onto these lines, I think. Simply because the inner line would need more than the outer line, if my theory is correct. Where can we put, oh, this would be a perfect spot for tram depot, because this is not where we're going to be putting a road in the future. That being said, it's a fairly good spot for a connection through and into Littlehampton, but we've already got this massive connection down here that we want to utilize. We need to keep an eye on trucks here, dropping stuff off, make sure that they, let's spread this out actually, make sure that they don't take up too much time and sort of throughput. What we could potentially do is a sort of turnaround area where we can put a couple of connections in to allow things to stream through a little bit better. But that's probably for another day, to be fair. Anyway, we have our Littlehampton connections here. Next is Ilkley and Swindon. So this is probably going to be one of the larger connections. So I want to make the buildings a little bit larger as well. And they're a little bit... In fact, what we'll do is we'll go big on the edges and small in between. And then that way, we could potentially do... It really depends what we want to do here, because what we could do is, say, a tram line that goes between the two cities via the train station, or we could do 2 tram lines that go round the cities like we've done up till now, and then have a separate depot for each one, which I'm kind of leaning towards, just because it'll look a bit different and a bit nicer. So if we were to do something like that, we could possibly make use of this space in between these. Maybe we could build a small circular area here. which these will make use out of. It's kind of a shame that we can't do one-way roads, actually. We can... Would that be this? Yes. So that could be a good little thing there. And then if we connect these up with tram lines, then it means that they can actually make use of them going forward. Or we can have one tram depot that connects the two cities together. So I was actually just going to delete this out, but to be fair, if we connect it in, creates a nice little triangular sort of one-way system for the actual train station, which looks quite snazzy. I quite like the look of that. And then if we do a line going into, say, over here, we could do another road coming in here, possibly. How's that? Let's do something like that. And then for Swindon, we need to have a decent connection as well. So if we do a road out here, we can have a decent connection there. So this would be like the main connection to the highway through the area. And then we would have, or at least this is how I'm thinking of it, to a road that will connect between the two areas. I don't know what to do. Got a bit of tram there. Maybe if we do something like that, we can have trams connect between the two. We could potentially even just do that and remove that one. That might be a little bit neater. But then what happens if we did have trams here? They do sort of cross over each other. It would almost be better to have the orientation of these the other way round. So if we go into the one-way streets, if we turn these around, oh, why is it like so? That will flow a bit better than before, because it's not crossing over itself. That's my thinking, at least. It could also potentially open up the possibility of connection roads here to allow the trams to sort of bypass any traffic. So if we made these bus lane roads, they would be the connections that go off to the two cities, possibly. So Ilkley is a fairly easy city to go around. It's a fairly square city. Swindon's fairly similar, but it has this road which comes in at an angle, and I kind of want to make use of that. So if we did, well, first off, we've got a perfect spot for our tram depot. Just here. So that'll make for some really interesting connections for the trams. We've then got a dedicated tram road lines in. So we just pause it for a sec. In fact, just hit play, whatever. If we put a couple of stops along the way, again, I don't really want to go. In fact, I think here would be better. Gonna have to put a stop there. So that would be the circular route around Swindon. And then for the route around Ilkley, I don't just want to go around the outside the entire time, so I think we'll go around a more central position here, and then that should pretty well cover all of the lines that we need here. Okay, so if we're going to upgrade tram lines, it should be around here. Obviously upgrade these roads to tram lines, upgrade these roads in. I don't want to put trams on these main larger roads through, so we won't. Instead, we will have trams on these other roads. We do have trams crossing, but that should be fine. So we just need to put in the 2 lines now for each city. So 1 line coming around Swindon, the other line going the opposite direction. just a line doing the opposite in Ilkley. Now, one vital question is, do we want a line connecting the two cities? Now, I would say that the two circular lines that we've done effectively connect the two cities together, because these two stations are so close together, people can walk from one side to the other. But do we want a more direct route through? Say, a line that maybe goes through the centre of Ilkley, and a line that goes between the central pieces of Swindon as well. It's a good question. I don't know. I don't think we need it. So I think what we've got will do fine. So let's just leave things as they are. But for Swindon, we're going to need 2 of these, and for Ilkley, we're going to need 2 of these. So I'm going to put 1 on each of these lines. And then they should start to work their way through. We actually need to name these, so if we take this one, it is the counterclockwise line. We can take out all of this and call it Swindon. Counterclockwise. And then we can do Swindon clockwise. Don't even know whether we should really be numbering them, but the number's there if we need to use it. And then we've got Ilkley. We've got the counterclockwise line. And this is ILKLEY. Do we have a space there? No, we didn't. And then the same, but for counterclockwise, or clockwise even. Yeah, that's clockwise. So we've got our trams down here. If we're going to put trams in over here, might as well put some decent ones on the central line, because I believe that those two will be very busy. And then maybe one that's just not quite as expensive per year going around the outside. The Skoda's cheaper. And to be fair, it goes about the same speed. They all do 43 other than that one. So get 2 of the Skodas. We can always upgrade them if it needs them. So these ones would be for the outer lines. These ones would be for the inner lines. I don't think those outer lines are actually going to get that much use. So we'll have to wait and watch. I don't know whether these need some of these larger ones, but I'd rather have them run in a deficit and have the capacity, because we really want to be feeding this public transport line. So where are we going to put the rail depots? Probably around here is a good spot, because we've got relatively straight track and it's relatively flat. So we'll do same sort of thing. as before. Let's just make sure this one is, yeah, that's at the right height. Jolly good. So what we'll do is have an off here with a double slip switch and an off here with a double slip switch. There we go. So we've got this line here, and I don't know whether we want to go with the dual stock straight away. Now, comparing the two, the dual stocks and the commuter train, the commuter train is a lot cheaper. We can run 2 commuter trains for the same price as one of the dual stocks. So there's quite a lot of value there going for the commuter train. It's only 40 miles an hour slower and is actually about half the size. In fact, it is entirely half the size. There's less emissions. It's lighter. And it costs less than half. So I think we'll go for one of these. Pop that onto the Riverside Rail line. And we might well go for 2. So we need to watch this train and potentially get a second one of these. Can we bring this up? No, we can't. That's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this down until it's roughly the same sort of distance from Ilkley, Swindon as here. So roughly around here. And then we'll do one going the opposite direction. It's going to take a fair amount of time for these connections to get to saturated use, because currently they are not going to be used. In fact, is that new? Do we have a train line that's supplying that at all? Yeah, we must be. That must be new. Because I don't think we connected that in intentionally, but I'm glad that it is connected there. Where is this? Oh wow, it's already coming up to Shildon. That's good. So it's going to take a little while for the potential passengers to realise that we have this connection in there now. So we just need to keep an eye on things as it continues through. So we're continuing down to Littlehampton now. It's in the tunnel. Up to full speed. You know, it does seem a bit of a shame that it's not a higher speed considering the length of this track and the various areas where it can get up to top speed. So we might be upgrading to dual stocks sooner rather than later, but we just need to keep an eye on things. Wow, this is a very long tunnel. It's even longer now that the autosave is running. We see daylight now. We're making our way out into the Littlehampton train station. Where we can then continue through onto Ilkley and Swindon. So about halfway through here, roughly where that stop is. Going to pause it. I'm going to come up here and I am going to put my second train on this line. So we will see how well spread out they are, because effectively this one should be leaving the Tring train station when this one is leaving Ilkley. I think it's not quite going to catch up. So we might well have to stop this one. Yep. So when this one's leaving, we need to stop it. And then we can start it again when this one's ready to leave up here. And then they should be really well spread out for the line's length. So this one's coming in. It's coming down to a stop. It's stopped. And it's started again. So we'll start this other one. So that's going to be as evenly spread out as they possibly can be. Let's just make sure these are using... Yeah, they're using both lines there. I think that is sorted out now. So we're starting to see connections coming up. Oh my goodness. What is going on here? Looks like we've got a bit of a bottleneck. So hopefully we can clear that through. What are these ones doing? Why are they going through here? My goodness, what's going on? Steel wants to be on number 1. Realistically. This logs and planks one wants to be on number 2. Shildon now demands fuel. That's new. We've got our train going through with 18 people on it now. It's going to take a little bit of time for these to start actually getting a fair bit of usage. And what we can do to improve the usage is to put more lines through these train stations. But that is the initial leg of the Riverside Rail line. So hopefully it will start to increase the amount of public transport usage through here. So what we need to do going forward is connect in Loughton, potentially connect in St Justin Penwith, and then if we're going down to St Justin Penwith from here, we may as well connect through to Alford, considering it's such a big city. We may even go on. I mean, there's not really much point considering we've already got a circular line here. Are we even going to be able to fit it in? We might have to remove one side of building and have a rejig around here for the connections and what have you. But it's definitely a possibility to utilize another line going up to, say, Bawtry. So that would just straight out remove the connection to, or the requirement to go through Burglar Marsh in order to go from Alford to Bawtry. But it's such a relatively small line, the circular line here. I don't know whether it's really needed. Whether cutting off that effective sort of corner would really do much, and considering this is such a big hill here, because the Bawtry line is, or the Bawtry station, sorry, is at 224 meters. We can see it up here in the overview. And down here, the Alford line is at 8.4 meters. So there is a extremely vast difference in height. So I don't know whether we would really do that going forward. But yeah, I'm quite happy with this connection. Hopefully it will become really quite well used. So Tring's destinations are starting to get some good connections to Ilkley, which is an interesting one considering it's across the map. So the Swindon, Ilkley, Littlehampton. I mean, Tring's. Surprisingly, Shildon, the closest city, isn't using much of that line, but Swindon and Ilkley are using quite a lot of the line usage there. And then if we look at the other lines, yeah, Swindon, Ilkley even, sorry, is really connecting to Tring. 100% of them are using the train line, which is really good. You got Shildon being one of the other main ones that it's using the line for. Littlehampton, not so much, which doesn't really surprise me because there's quite good private links, so there's quite good connections through just to use a car. Swindon, again, not so much, probably because likely there's a decent connection there with just the road, so that's understandable. Tring, Shildon, Ilkley, Littlehampton. So surprisingly, this number's going up for the further they have to go. Now the Littlehampton one might be quite interesting. Where does Littlehampton send most of its people? In fact, the line usage, a lot of it's going to Tring. Some of it's going to Ilkley. Not much of it's going to Shildon. What about Shildon's side? A lot of it's going to Ilkley. A lot of it's going to Swindon. And then Littlehampton, not a lot to Tring at all. Probably because they've got... So there's such good connections here. There's a decent highway that they don't necessarily want to use the train. I can kind of understand that, but I hope that this number will grow with time, because ultimately we put this connection in, we want it to get some use, and I'm hoping that it will get a fair amount of use. So yeah, that's been, I think, this episode now. We have about 30 users currently using this line, but then, like I said, it's going to take time for these to grow. It's going to take time for these connections to mature, and also we have other possible connections to put in as well. So I'm really interested to see how that goes. One thing I will say is that considering we have such close connections to, say, Dover, I mean, how many, where is the top? Yeah, Dover is the top destination for shop and work for Littlehampton, and that's one of our larger cities at 500 odd people. Dover really wants to go to Coulsdon, Littlehampton. Again, Littlehampton. Ilkley. Swindon. Loughton. West Ham. Interesting. Winsford. Shildon. So, considering we've got train stations here, it may be easier to connect up to the Shildon one to the Dover train station, and then the Littlehampton to the Coulsdon, considering they line up really well. And then that effectively creates like a... Because we've got Coulsdon and Dover connected, and Shildon and Littlehampton connected. It effectively creates like a zigzag back and forth. So what we would probably want to do is have buses that run between the two main hubs of these. I think the Dover one is going to be busy regardless. Where does Bogler Marsh go? This will be interesting to know. Main one to Bawtry, next is Dover, next is Alford, next is Coulsdon. But other than that, St Justin Penwith, Littlehampton, interesting, and Ilkley are some of the higher... I mean, they're not very high, but they are some of the higher shopping destinations. And then, again, St Justin Penwith, Littlehampton, Swindon, Ilkley, Shildon, interestingly. So it might be good to extend that connection, that direct connection, down to Bogler Marsh. If we were doing a connection from Littlehampton to Coulsdon, it might be good to continue that one through to St Justin Penwith, and then maybe have a separate line that goes through to Bogler Marsh or something like that. We really want to expand Bogler Marsh's connections, but considering it's one of the largest cities in the entire... Well, it is the largest city in the game. Or at least it was the last time I looked. Dover's overtaken it. So if we looked at Dover quickly, I think it still really wants to go to Burgh Marsh, yeah. Bawtry, Alford. So having a direct connection from Dover straight through to Burgh Marsh could be very beneficial. And then we would extend that from Shildon down to Winsford. And then potentially from Winsford we could go up to one of the other cities. Which is the highest? So if we were, it would be really nice to be able to filter these other cities. So we've got Ilkeston, Winsford, Littlehampton. Tolaw is actually quite a large city compared to the rest of them. So Tolaw might be quite a good destination to have. What about Maplethorpe and Sutton? Yeah, Maplethorpe and Sutton. Kesgrove's the smallest city we've got at the moment. So that's actually really interesting to see. I'm hoping that these rider numbers will go up and up, and that may well mean we actually make some money off of this line, which will be really beneficial for everyone involved. If we're potentially going to have a connection through here, where would that go? I don't know. I mean, we could split it from here and have one connection that goes down to Loughton, the other which circles up and goes towards Ilkeston and Knaresborough. But I don't know. I really don't know. That's going to get a little bit confusing. I thought we had a train line coming in, but it was on this one. So we've got 67 people using it at the moment. I mean, these numbers are going to go up and up. We've already had 134 people use it, and that's on the second year that it's been in full swing. We need to keep an eye on the riders on the trams, because if they aren't getting to where they need to go, then we need to put more trams on the lines. But hopefully, especially where we've used some of these larger trams, they should get to where they need to go pretty well. But yeah, this should be a massive boost for the likes of Tring, the likes of Shildon, and some of these smaller cities, Ilkley and Swindon, may well grow. We just need to keep an eye on things going forward. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the outcome here. I hope you are too. I think what I'm going to do is leave this one here. We've had a relatively successful episode connecting all of these up, and I'm in particular quite liking Ilkley Swindon. Remember, we need another name for that. So if you have one, let me know. I quite like this little one-way turnaround sort of area. And the dedicated tram connections here. So yeah, I'm quite liking how it's going. We've got some pretty decent connections here for Ilkley and Swindon, so hopefully this will become quite a large hub of connectivity going forward. We might even have to connect this one into, say, Bawtry, and then have Bawtry connect down or something like that. We'll have to wait and see. Especially if we're going to do from Shildon to Dover to Burgh Marsh. That just really shortcuts through some of the bigger cities, and hopefully will really wake up Winsford, because it's already pretty large at 610, and some of the connections that really want to get to from Winsford want to go. Southwold, well, we don't necessarily have a planned route there, but Shildon will have a connection. Maplethorpe, we might do a connection through for. Coulsdon, that would be actually not that good of a connection because they might have to use a bus from here to here. So maybe we'll have to do something there. Tring, so they would go up on the train to here and then swap over. So it's probably not the best connection, but we could put in a bus. We could do other things to connect those individual areas. Kesgrave, Littlehampton. That would be a pretty good connection for Littlehampton, to be fair. They just swap over on this station, go through to Littlehampton down here. So yeah, there's a fair bit for us to do going forward with public transport. As I said before this, we only really had a circular line around some of our larger cities, which are all in a very small area. So this is very much going to be sort of an outreach project to try and connect up to the other cities. But I'm going to stop talking. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed playing it. Let me know what you think with your thumbs, regardless of whether you liked it or not. If your thumbs simply don't cut it and you want to leave me a comment, please remember we're looking for a name for this station. Something a little bit better than Ilkley dash Swindon, but who knows? Maybe that's the best name that we can come up with. But you know, I either Ilkden or Swinley or something like that would be really good. Let me know what you think, and until next time, have a good one. Thanks. Goodbye.